Yo, what up, guys? It's your boy Will Dickinson, and we're here with a new YouTube video. And guess what? It's the NBA drafts today, and we're doing a little mock draft. I'm wearing my Hornet shirt as a guy from North Carolina. I'm not a Hornets fan, but this is a big day for the Hornets. Having the second overall pick. I believe this is their highest pick in a very long time, maybe since Michael Kidd Gilchrist, Gilchrist. Jesus, I cannot pronounce his name. But anyways, we're here to do a mock draft today, so I'm gonna go share my screen. And I'm gonna have to have a lot of pauses during this video because I watch a lot of college basketball. I watch a lot of NBA, but I'm not sure what these teams are thinking. So I might have to do some research in between picks. Top three are pretty easy. It gets a little interesting at four. I believe I know I'm doing with the fourth pick, and then it starts to get interesting at five. We're gonna do the first round. And yeah, I mean, of course, there's gonna be a lot of trades, so it's really hard to predict. But this is pretending like there's no trades. There's already been some trades going on today. We saw Porzingis go to the Celtics. But we're just going to do a mock draft with no trades. Obviously, that's not what it's going to be like in real life, but we're going to try our best to do it what we think could happen in this draft. All right, so I got my screen shared, and yeah, so here's the draft here. I'm controlling every team. So this first pick, it's not that hard of a selection, right? Okay, draft play. So yeah, we're taking Victor Wembanyama, generational talent. He's going number one there to San Antonio. He's listed as a four, can play center. This dude's generational talent. Do we really need to speak that much about Brandon Miller? I don't think so. This dude is the truth. I'm not Brandon Miller. Jeez, Victor Wembanyama. We don't need to talk about much about him. We know what he can do offensively and defensively. He's versatile. This dude is a once in a lifetime type prospect, and I believe he will pan out. I believe this dude is the future of the NBA. And I'm just so excited to see him get on the court and play in the NBA. Hopefully, get some summer league action. But I'm a believer. There's a lot of skeptics out there, but I'm a believer in Wembanyama. I think he can be just different. I mean, this is maybe the greatest prospect of all time. The second pick is where it gets interesting. The Charlotte Hornets on the clock here, and if I was making this mock draft yesterday, I would have something a little different. But of course, we saw this happen last year when it looked like the Magic with the first pick, we're going to take Jabari Smith all the way up to draft day. And then odds switched like that, and Paolo Banchero became the favorite, ended up being the first pick overall. And I think the same thing's happening today. We saw that it was going to be Brandon Miller. It's going to be Brandon Miller. It's going to be Brandon Miller to the Charlotte. And then today, Shams tweets out Scoot Henderson's gaining traction. He goes up to be a heavy odds on favorite for that second overall pick. And I do think the Hornets end up drafting Scoot Henderson number 2 overall. Well, the fit's going to be interesting. I do think they will be able to find suitors for Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward type players. Him and LaMelo Ball in the backcourt will work. Can they bring back a guy like Miles Bridges? We'll see. The Hornets have a very interesting, decision to make, and I believe they end up going with Scoot there. I do think Scoot has the higher upside of Brandon Miller. Do I know about the floor? No. I think Brandon Miller's floor is a steady, good, damn near 20-point per game score, while Scoot, I think Scoot could have bust potential. But I do like the fit with Scoot Henderson in Charlotte. And then the Blazers, again, these 2 and 3 picks, they could end up being traded. I don't think Charlotte ends up trading their pick. And then with the Blazers here at 3, I think they just end up taking Brandon Miller, assuming they don't trade their pick. Brandon Miller is, I think, a really good player. He's the best. He was the best college freshman last year. Of course, he got into some controversy, but it seems like he's an honest, good guy, and I don't see that happening again in his future. He's a guy who can shoot the ball from anywhere on the court. Yes, he needs to improve on probably playmaking, some ball handling. But if you're going to a place like Portland, they're going to keep Dame. If they can bring back guys like Jeremy Grant, we'll see what the future with Anthony Simons is. Shane Sharp development. I think Brandon Miller fits in perfectly with Portland. I do not know if they're going to be able to win now with Dame, but they're going to keep Dame. Let's stop talking about them trading him. And Brandon Miller, I think, is a really good player. And if this pick doesn't get traded, I think they'll be happy with that. But I think there is a good chance that Portland does trade that third pick and end up going with trying to get Brandon Ingram, someone of that caliber. I think with the fourth pick, I think the Rockets love Amen Thompson from OTE. I think he is the better half of the Thompson twins, and I think they do end up going Amen. I believe Amen Thompson is just the better twin because of the way he's able to shoot the ball just a little better than his brother. He's a very versatile player. He can play the one, play the two. He's a very good defender, lengthy. They're a little, I believe they're 20 years old, and I am skeptic. I am skeptical of them because of them playing in overtime elite and not playing amazing competition or high level intensity in packed out arenas where the fans are going against you, like guys like Wembanyama did, or college guys. But I do think they have a lot of skill. They've improved a lot. They're very hardworking and great guys. I've seen a lot of interviews from them, heard them speak. They know what they're talking about. And I do think they're going to be ready for the NBA, but I'm not sure of this whole process of OT, how it's going to work. And these are really the first guys in the draft to come from overtime elite. So, they're kind of the test subject to see how they can pan out in the NBA. And I do like Amen Thompson. I do think he's the better half of the Thompson twins. And I think the Rockets do really like him, and he can fit good, and see if they can get a James Harden guy in there. He can play the two, play the one around Jalen Green as well, and Sengun, guys like that. So I do think it's a good fit for the Rockets. And yeah, so I'm going to get a quick pause and then come back with some more picks. All right, so with this fifth pick, Detroit, they do need somewhat of a bigger guy, a wing. They're going to have Cade coming back next year. I think Ivy, they have their guards pretty much locked up here. And if I'm Detroit, I think and they're going to end up going Jarris Walker. I think he's listed as a guard here. He's just not a guard. He's a four. He's probably the biggest, most built guy in this draft class. I loved him at Houston. He's a great mid-range guy. He can get his own bucket. He can rebound. He can, get inside and play physical. And I think he has a lot of really good defensive tools where at his worst, he's still going to be a really, really good defender and a quality starter. And the Pistons just need guys to, come around Cade and Ivy. I like Wiseman, Duran. They kind of just need a wing player. And I think Jarris Walker fits in really well for Detroit. It sucks that they fell all the way to 5 after having the worst record in the NBA. But Jarris Walker, I think this dude's really good. He's one of my favorite college players. I think he's a little underrated in my opinion. He's just so physically big. I do think he's better than the Amen Thompson. I've seen him play at this level. And Houston was one of the best teams in the country, one of the best defensive teams in the country, and he was there. So I think his defense potential is high. He's a versatile guy, can play. I think he plays the 3 or the 4. He could maybe play a small ball 5 in the future. But Jarris Walker, I do really, really like. And then the Magic here at 6. This is an interesting one. There was reports coming out they may be able to shop Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs. Suggs hasn't really panned out as well. Cole Anthony has been up and down in his early stages of his career, and Markelle Fultz has taken a good jump since being traded there, coming back from injury. He's been really, really good. So this is a really tough pick for me, and I've seen a lot of different reports from people going with Anthony Black or Taylor Hendricks jumping up, Cam Whitmore. Has had injury concerns, Asar Thompson in this range. So it's a very tough decision for Orlando to make. Sorry for the quick pause. Need some water. But anyways, I do think they end up going a guy like Anthony Black. All the reports seem like they really like him. And I think they're going to try and move off a guy either like Suggs or Cole Anthony, maybe both. He can play the 1 or 2. Big guard, great playmaker. He's not an amazing shooter, but you can learn that over time. He has great awareness for the game. I love the way he plays, and his defensive capability, I think, is really high. He has a very high ceiling, high floor guy. I just think Anthony Black is probably behind Scoot Henderson the best point guard in this NBA draft, and I believe he will go 6 to Orlando. 7 here for Indiana, can do many things. Of course, they have a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, and their guard's been really good. Benedict Mathurin last year's good. They could move off a guy like Chris Duarte, who's getting, he's old for only going into his 3rd year. Buddy Hield, Miles Turner. These are guys who've been there now for a while, and they could be looked to get on the market. And I think they really like Taylor Hendricks out of UCF as a guy who didn't watch a lot of UCF basketball this year because they weren't, high up there on the charts, on the rankings. I've seen a lot of his tape, and this dude is very versatile. He can play a 5, play a 4, small ball 5 guy. He's not, he's super athletic, good defender, not an amazing shooter, but it can get there over time. He's a guy who was not a higher ranked recruit, but skyrocketed after injuries for UCF and became their star player. And he's done amazing in the pre-draft workouts. He's been a skyrocketer on boards. And I think because of his potential, he's a guy who can go high in this draft. And I think Indiana is a good spot for him at 7. They're looking for a 4 type of player. And I do like Taylor Hendricks going to Indiana at 7. So 8 for Washington. I could see him trying to trade up in this draft here because they just traded for Tyus Jones. So I do think that's their point guard player. Of course, they've traded away Bradley Beal, Porzingis, and probably losing Kyle Kuzma in free agency. They're kind of starting from scratch here. And there's many different ways they can go. If the board was like this right now, I like guys like Cam Whitmore, but he's had injury concerns. Guys like Asar Thompson, Bilal Coulibaly's got buzz going higher in this draft is very interesting to me because of just the potential he really has. It's a real tough prediction for me because I love the way that he plays, but I would still take with this pick Asar Thompson. It's between him and Cam Whitmore. But I think because of Whitmore's injury concerns he had in college, I think he may be a little faller in this draft. There's usually 1 or 2 players in the NBA draft that do fall. And for me, it's going to be Cam Whitmore because of the injury concerns. And I think Asar Thompson goes number 8 to Washington, and they become the first Twins to be both top 10 picks, with Amen going to Houston at 4 and Asar going to Washington at 8. Now with 9 in Utah, I've heard they really love Bilal Coulibaly, and that's who I think they're going to pick. Danny Ainge, the GM over there, or whatever, president of basketball operations, whatever he is in Utah, he loves foreign players. He likes taking, some risks in the draft and being aggressive. And I think he does that picking Bilal Coulibaly. He was teammates with Wembanyama on the Metropolitans in France, and he really broke down the later stages of the season over there. He's a guard forward. He's a versatile player, can play the 2-3, probably not the 4, but he's a very athletic guy. His shot started to progress, and I really like him there for Utah, who is in the rebuild stages. Last year they got off to a hot start, didn't end up making the play-in, but had promising starts from guys, Walker Kessler being one of them. Of course, Lauri Markkanen, who I could see them selling high this offseason, and Bilal Coulibaly there. He's young, and yes, he might not be a really NBA-ready guy, but Utah's not trying to win right now. I think he's a good stepping piece for them in the future. Now in 10, Dallas, this is a pick that definitely could be traded here. We do not know about Kyrie Irving coming back or not. Of course, you have Luka Doncic. They could try to make a trade for DeAndre Ayton. I've seen that being a possibility there. So with this pick, because of the fact that you could be trading for DeAndre Ayton, I don't think they end up going Derek Lively in this pick because of the fact that I think they're going to be looking to get a guy like DeAndre Ayton. I think they end up picking Cam Whitmore. I think Cam Whitmore is a player that could be going higher in this draft, and I have him fallen just a little bit because of the injury concerns. And it's fair, he didn't play to begin his college career at Villanova. I believe it was a foot injury. And, those things allow to come back a lot. We saw Chet Holmgren miss a whole year because of a foot injury. But Dallas needs players. And Derek Lively, I think, is a really good fit for them because they need a center. They've been lacking that. They've been playing Dwight Powell at center. But I think they're going to try to make an aggressive push for DeAndre Ayton this offseason. And I think they go with Cam Whitmore, a guy who can play the 3, play the 4 for them. I think that fits really perfectly what they're trying to do because they could lose guys like Reggie Bullock, Tim Hardaway's on a big contract who they might try to trade to Phoenix. Kent Whitmore can go in there and play right away. I think he's ready for it. He's young, but was a high-ranked recruit there. And when he was playing, Villanova was a damn near tournament team at the end of that last year. I remember talking about him on the channels, like Villanova is getting hot at the right time. They ended up not making the tournament, but Kent Whitmore played a big part in that. Let's go to 11. This would be the Magic's second pick. I haven't taken Anthony Black to start out here, and all signs point for them going with Grady Dick in this 11th pick. I've seen all the Magic experts, all their people who always talk about right for them, saying that Grady Dick's that pick at 11. This guy's a sharpshooter. He's gonna be one of the fan favorites because of his name. You're gonna get that Dick jersey, and he's a great shooter, a guy who in the later stage of his freshman year at Kansas, he turned into being able to take shots off the dribble and kind of get to the basket better. But of course, that star thing he is a 3-point shooter. He did that very well at Kansas. I believe he was around a 40% shooter there in his freshman year. He did contribute to winning a lot. Is he the greatest defender? No. But when you have a guy like Anthony Black, you're drafting Markelle Fultz, Jalen Suggs, who was still on the roster. Those are great defenders. And if you have Grady Dick, who can play the two, he is a little tall. I believe he's 6'7". He can play the three at times there. I like that pick for Orlando, pairing Anthony Black, Grady Dick. I believe they were on the same All-American team for McDonald's All-American. So they're going to have some type of chemistry. And with Paulo Banchero, with Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter, I like the future of this Orlando team. I think they could be almost making a playoff push next year. This is the first pick for the Thunder. I think a really good year. And I think they go Derek Lively out of Duke. He's skyrocketed off draft boards. Have been videos of him practicing his three ball, but he's the best shot blocker in this draft behind Wembanyama. He proved it a lot in college, and he got so much better as the year goes on. Look, he only averaged 5 points. He's not a great offensive player. Most of his points were dunks, but when you're playing like with a guy like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, you don't really need to be an ISO big. We saw what Walker Kessler did this year for Utah, and I think that Derek Lively can do the same thing for OKC as a guy who's a rim protector, dunks the ball, can run the court. He proved that at Duke at the end of last year, and he was a key part of Duke getting hot, winning the ACC tournament. So I got him going to OKC at 12. 13th pick, I've seen a lot of buzz with Kobe Buffkin going to Toronto at 13, but in my opinion, I haven't seen a lot of Kobe Buffkin. I know he's a good player, but I love Keontae George. And if Keontae George goes 13, I think that's a great piece for them. So I'm going with Keontae George. He may be my favorite player in the draft personally because I think he has such a high potential. He's one of the best just pure scorers in this draft. He can do it off the dribble. He can do it catch and shoot. He's an ISO player. He was one of the best freshmen in the country last year for a Baylor team. And I think he's a little underrated. He can play the two. He's a guy who can just get you a bucket, a Bradley Beal type player, a Jordan Poole type player. And if you can get that 13, that's a great pick. Toronto needs scoring. We do not know how long Fred VanVleet's going to be there. Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam. These are all guys who could be traded, and Toronto could be starting a rebuild with the new hiring of the coach, firing Nick Nurse. It seems like they're trying to reset. And Keontae George just helps them. He's young. He can grow a lot. Is he the best defender? No. But that can always improve as you get older. So at 14 here, I think the Pelicans go Cason Wallace. Look, we do not know how long CJ McCollum's going to be there. They already have a great defender in Herb Jones. And if you can, partner them up together with Cason Wallace and Herb Jones in the backcourt, I don't know how many points you're scoring, but it's not a lot. Cason Wallace is the best, I think, on-ball point of attack defender. And yes, there's injury concerns. He was out a lot with a back injury, which is never good to see at that young of an age. But I think he's really, really good. I think he has the potential of Anthony Black, Scoot Henderson type guys because we saw he can shoot the ball. He did fall off a little bit at the end of the year, but his defending is so good. He can be a Drew Holiday type guy. Of course, that's the biggest comp for him is a Drew Holiday. But I love Cason Wallace, man. Kentucky guards, let's be real, they're a sure thing. Tyrese Maxey, Tyler Hero, Emmanuel Quickly, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker, John Wall, Rajon Rondo, Eric Bledsoe. These are I could keep going on about Kentucky guards because they're that good. Casey Wallace is just another one of them. He's going to be good in the NBA as long as he stays healthy, which I believe he will. 15 is an interesting spot to be at for Atlanta. You could go I think you can go many different ways when you're at 15 because Atlanta is a very interesting, situation with we do not know the future of DeJounte Murray there. I think he has 1 year left on his deal. Trae Young, I think, is becoming a little underrated in my opinion. They could be moving off DeAndre Hunter. I think they like Kobe Buffkin here if he doesn't go to Toronto at 13. He goes 15. He's a guy who improved a lot in his sophomore season at Michigan. He can score the ball, and he didn't get as much shots because of a guy like Hunter Dickinson and Jet Howard, who's also in this draft, who could be a first-round pick. I just don't think he got as much opportunity early in the year. He showed in the second half of that year where Michigan was trying to make a tournament run but couldn't. And he goes 15 to Atlanta. Another guy can help score off the bench there because their backup guards were just not a strength for them. 16, Utah. I had Utah taking Bilal Coulibaly at 9 with their first pick. So here you're coming up again, and you can take risks here, I think, with this pick. But you have Bilal Coulibaly, and I think you're looking for a point guard, and Jalen Hood-Schifino is just right there. And I love that pick for them. Utah's a team that could pretty much use anything. Was their point guard? It wasn't Mike. Who was their point guard even at the end of the year? It wasn't Mike Conley. They traded him. Man, I can't even remember. I'm being completely honest. Jalen Hood-Schifino. I'm not as high as Jalen Hood-Schifino as many others are. I do believe Casey Wallace is a better player. But with Hood-Schifino, he's a scorer. He can play make, and we saw him play in big time games for Indiana against Purdue. I believe he had a 30 piece. He played really well. He's a big time player, and he really just improved as the season went on. And can he become into a true point guard? I'm not sure. He didn't have amazing playmaking for Indiana last year, but he took a bigger step when Xavier Johnson got injured for Indiana. I really do think he's a good player, but I don't know how he can play as a lead guard yet because, yes, he might have been the point guard for that team last year, but he wasn't really playmaking, setting up offenses. And I don't know how that can translate straight to the NBA, but I do think there is a chance. So here's an interesting pick at 17 for LA. Assuming they keep it, they could package this deal. They just got pick number 40. And I'm between two guys. So I'm between Jordan Hawkins and Nick Smith. And here's the reason. Jordan Hawkins is the better player, better shooter, a guy that I think LA would love. And if I was the GM of LA, I'm picking Jordan Hawkins. But here's the pick. I'm almost leaning Nick Smith. Nick Smith, is a young, talented guy who was really I think he was number one player in their nation in the country for 2022. So I think they could see the potential and go for them. But I do think in the core of LA, they have to go with a guy who's a win now, can help you get there. And they need shooting. Jordan Hawkins, man. This dude is a lights out shooter. Again, a guy who I believe is underrated. I think when you have Jordan Hawkins there at 17, it's hard to pass up on a guy who can just be a lights out shooter. His quick release, Ray Allen type potential, I swear, for a national champion winning team was probably the second best player on that team that won the national championship. Man, that doesn't come that often. Jordan Hawkins, I think, is a really, really good pick. If you're Miami at 18 here, you're kind of just going with someone who you don't know how much is going to play, right? They had a guy like Nikola Jovic, who played a little bit. Haywood Highsmith. We do not know the future of Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. Gabe Vincent's a free agent. These are guys that you can replace. Oladipo's probably out for next year anyway, so you're looking for a guard. If you're LA, you're looking for almost anyone, and I like Jet Howard here. Gigi Jackson, I think, is just too young. I like a Jaime Jaquez, a Brandon Pazinski. Look out for him at 18, a guy who Pat Riley might like. He likes taking a little bit of projects, I believe. And man, it's tough. This is a tough prediction for me. Noah Clowney or Jet Howard's where I'm leaning. I've seen many different things, but I'm going to go with Noah Clowney out of Alabama, the second Bama player taken in this draft. He's a forward who can, he's not really been able to stretch the floor early in his freshman year, but he has really good defensive upside there. If you're looking for a guy who can, be a backup four for you, he can do that. Maybe play some center. Very good defensive guy who has offensive potential, which you gotta like. 19 for the Warriors. You drafted a guy like Patrick Baldwin last year, that's why I don't think they go with a GG Jackson. I think they go with a Jaime Jaquez here. A guy who can help you win now, who can get buckets. Jaime Jaquez was really good in college. 4-year guy who led them to a Final Four, was helped them to a Final Four, I believe, in the sophomore year. Was the star player this year as a senior. He's been their best player for the last couple of years. He was an All-American guy, scores the ball, can play the 2, play the 3, play the 4. Versatile player, shoots the ball really well. And when you score that much in college, I think it helps translate. And the Warriors need guys to help them win now on smaller contracts. And that's what Jaime Jaquez really is going to do, can do. And I really love that. So Houston has their second pick of this draft. I had them picking the Men Thompson 4th. So at 20th now, I heard they really love Leonard Miller. I just do. I'm pretty sure they love Leonard Miller there at 20, if I'm not wrong. I've seen things about Jet Howard, Leonard Miller, stuff like that. But I'm gonna go Leonard Miller at 20. A guy from Florida? Oh no, geez, not Florida State. There was a Miller in Florida State. G League Ignite, and those players have been proven to work. Kaminga has been solid. Jalen Green's been solid. So I do think G League Ignite works. And I think Leonard Miller's a good player. Played alongside Scoot Henderson. Haven't seen a lot about his game, but I know Houston likes him. I know he's young. He's grown a lot into his body, which is really good. So I do like him. 21 Nets. I think Nick Smith or Jet Howard is where they think here, and I think they just need more guards. Seth Curry's a free agent, probably gonna leave them. Cam Thomas, they just don't like. Patty Mills is old. I like going with Nick Smith, super high potential. And we do not know if the Nets are going to be trying to win next year or not. But this guy was the #1 player in his high school class just last year, battled through injuries, and he wasn't amazing when he came back. But I still think it's there. Nick Smith could be a good NBA player. Oh, wait, Nets had back-to-back picks. Okay, the Nets had back-to-back picks. So at 22, you get Nick Smith, and you can get your other guy in Jet Howard. Jet Howard's a guy who shot the ball a lot in Michigan, was not that much of an efficient player under his dad, Jawan. And that's very interesting to me that he got so much, so many shots, so much playing time. I do think he's really good. He did have a decent year there at Michigan. I know scouts really like his game because of the fact that he can play the 3, play the 2, can shoot the balls, an aggressive guy who looks to score. I think the Brooklyn Nets just need more guys, man. We don't know what the future holds for them. But yeah. So look, now we get in this race where the 23rd pick, it's been David Roddy, solid. And then you've had Usman Garanda and Leonardo Balmaro. Both those guys don't really play. So when you get into this range, it's guys who will probably play a lot in the G League next year, but have potential with the Blazers. We had the Blazers, of course, getting Brandon Miller here. So I think when you're the Blazers, you're kind of just looking for a guy who can just, keep helping you play now. You already drafted a guy like Brandon Miller. GG Jackson's just not going to help you there. James Najee, I like as a backup center guy. He has potential. I do like the way he plays. So James Najee there, I think you just take him. He's a center, another foreign dude. You start to get a lot of foreign guys just going in this range, and I have him going there. Oh my god, what is going on my phone? 1 sec. Let me pause it. Let me write my phone's tweaks. All right, so 24 was Sack. This is where I love a guy like GG Jackson to go. They're not going to draft Chris Murray. That would be funny if they did, but they're just not going to draft Chris Murray. No way you pick Keegan and yet Chris. I just don't think that happening. But I'm actually not picking GG Jackson. I'm going Olivier Maxwell Pross. Actually, screw that. I'm going back real quick. I don't like that James Najee pick. This is where I'm picking freaking Olivia Maxence Prosper for Portland. This guy's also risen up draft boards a lot in his young career. He was a breakout guy for the Marquette team who was really good. And in the off, he's measured well. He's played well in the combine. A guy who didn't even play the second day of the combine because how much he promised. I think he's going to be he got invited to the green room. So I feel like he's guaranteed to get a higher pick there. And I like him for Portland at 23. If you can get Prosper, you can get Brandon Miller. I think that's a really good draft for Portland, and it's moving in the right direction. And when you're Sacramento, again, you're just not going Chris Murray. It just wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense. I think G.G. Jackson's a guy that could go right here at 24. Again, a guy with a lot of potential. Decommits from UNC and is going to South Carolina and reclassing back up. He was the number one player in this class. He fell down to like 6 or 7. I think he was still inside the top 10 for 2022, but should have been 2023 guy. Got a lot of shots, not on a great team. Does have potential, very raw, not a great defender. Does he have capabilities? Yes, but he hasn't shown them on the defensive end. Raw guy, and I think he can develop well in Sacramento there. If they picked Chris Murray, that would be crazy. It would be funny, but crazy. So I believe this 25th pick is actually Boston's. I believe it's Boston at 25. But it's listed as Memphis 5. I do think it's Boston's, but now I'm totally sure, but I think it's Boston's. So if this was Boston's pick at 25, which I'm assuming it is, they just got Porzingis. So you're kind of looking for a guy who's, probably another guard since you've lost out there. Maxwell Lewis, Ryan Rupert, I do like. Jordan Walsh is a guy I heard Boston really, really likes. They moved up. Jordan Walsh, maybe I could consider. I'm going with, this is a tough decision. Andre Jackson's, Maxwell Lewis. I'm going to go Maxwell Lewis from Pepperdine. We saw a guy like Jalen Williams from Santa Clara do the same thing, playing from the West Coast Conference, go in. So it's proven it can work from a smaller school in that conference. I think Maxwell Lewis is a guy this year who could really do it from Pepperdine. I believe this is the Celtics pick, and I do like that. We looking at the Pacers. We hadn't going with Taylor Hendricks, so they kind of got a 4 guy. You may be looking for another guard, but you're good at guard. You are good at guard here, but I think a guy like Brandon Brzezinski there is a really good pick for. I think he falls a little bit. I could see him going to the Heat there at 18. Is the Heat at 18? I could see you going to the Heat at 18. I have him going Noah Clowney. I think he could fall. He could go high. I just have him in the first round there. Because if he was, I'm trying to get 30 right, not in a row. But if I can get all first round picks right, I mean, it's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. Am I confident about that? No, it's probably not going to happen. But who knows? 27. Is this 27? Yeah, 27. Of course, we had Scoot Henderson going. So now you're kind of just looking for just more, right? You're not going to get amazing talent at this stage, but you still can get really good players. I'm going to go with Chris Murray. He's an experienced guy. He's older. We saw Keegan do really well last year in his rookie year. I think Chris can kind of do the same thing. He's not as good. I believe he's a righty. Keegan was a lefty, but he did have a breakout year this year at Iowa, which many people did expect him to do. I think this could be more experience for Charlotte. Getting a nice little forward there would be fun, would be good for them. We don't know what Miles Bridges is going to do. And that's what they need. Kai Jones is amazing. So, yes, more depth for Charlotte is good, and experience if they want to make a push. If they get a guy like Scoot Henderson, LaMelo, they want to make the playoffs year one. Chris Murray would be good for them. So this is the Jazz third. They have Jalen Hood-Schifino, and I have him going below Koulibaly. So you probably want someone a little bigger here. Could they go with another foreign guy in Ryan Rupert? I do think that is a possibility. I know Tristan Vucevic has been on a lot of guys' minds, but I'm gonna go. They took Walker Kessler last year, but I think this time this is where James Najee goes. Needing a backup center there. Another foreign player. This would be their second one, and I do think right now I have 2 foreign. Do I have 2 foreign? No, I do have Wemby. They would have 2 of the 3 foreign players. So Hey, I think that's what Danny Ainge likes, and I think who knows, that's what they could do. So Indiana, this is Indiana would be third pick. Oh no, is that Boston? I can't remember. No, it's not. I think this was actually Indiana's now third pick in this draft. I have them going with Przinski and Taylor Hendricks. And this pick, you're kind of just throwing darts and hoping they hit. Derweek Whitehead, a guy who was a super high recruit, just went through injuries, didn't get a lot of time playing at Duke there. Colby Jones, I do think has a lot of potential, but Ryan Rupert, man, from New Zealand, I think he is a guy who has again a lot of potential, lengthy wing, super athletic guy who can score the ball, and I do think he has defensive potential there. And just throwing him in the second round can never hurt. And then the Clippers here at 30, they're gonna be moving guys. They're gonna have to be moving guys. We see Paul George may be looking to get traded, and you gotta pick someone with experience here. It's a tough pick. Derek, Sensible, I think Sensible. You gotta throw Sensible in there. This Sensible was supposed to be a high pick. He's fallen on draft boards because he's not a good defender. He isn't, but I'm going to pick Bryce Sensible because he has the potential. He has the potential to do so. So let's look at my final mock draft. Victor Wembanyama. We'll just go through the lottery and then you can see the rest. Wembanyama 1, Scoot 2, over Brandon Miller. Miller 3, Amen Thompson 4 to Houston. Jarris 5, Anthony Black 6, Taylor Hendricks 7, Asar Thompson 8. So both Thompson twins in the top 10. Bilal Coulibaly goes 9. So 2 Metropolitans in the top 10. Cam Whitmore goes 10 because of injuries. Grady Dick 11. Derek Lively goes 12 to OKC. Keontae 13. Casey Loss 14. Kobe Buffkin 15. Hood Shafino goes 16. Jordan Hawkins 17. Clowney 18. So after 17, I think it gets really hard to pick. Clowney 18, Jaime Jaquez 19, Leonard Miller 20. So Houston gets a young player there from G League Ignite. Back-to-back Nets picks, Nick Smith and Jet Howard. Olivia Maxine Prosper 23. GG goes 14. I believe the Celtics actually do have 25 and go Maxwell Lewis. Brandon Przinski goes 26. Chris Murray goes 27, James Nazi 28, Ryan Rupert 29, and 30, Bright Sensible, Ohio State. Other guys I really like, Marcus Sasser, Jalen Wilson. These are guys who played really, really well in college. Oh man, I'm just trying to think of second round players, dude. Because I know there's some second round guys I really like. I just gotta think of them real quick. I'm trying to go find a nice little draft board real quick. I can tell you some second round guys I like. Okay. Seth Lundy, I really, really like from Penn State. Jordan Walsh could go in the first round. I really like Bryce. Oh, no, I don't have Bryce Sensible in the first round. Jalen Pickett, another Penn State. Those 2 Penn State guys, I think will be steals. Jalen Clark, really, really good defender. Amani Bates, who knows? Kobe Brown, elite. I think he has a good NBA potential, a solid floor. Adama Sanogo, a really good college player. Serge Rice, best pump fake. So these are some guys from college that I liked watching, and I think they could end up being role players in the NBA in the second round. This is a super deep draft. Who knows? This could be the worst mock draft you've ever seen. You're going to get more news. There's going to be trades. This is not going to be the most perfect draft class. But there's no reason sharing. Let me know in your comments down below. I'm going to get to my friend, so wish me luck. See if I can win some money off him on my mock draft. Good luck, and hey, enjoy the draft, enjoy some trades, and it's gonna be a fun then. Peace.